Hello, my name is Gaetan Halemu. I am a metadata librarian at Southampton Solent University here in the UK. I am giving you this presentation in the context of the European MOOC Virtual Learning Environment course organized by the University of Parma and also by Professor Anamara Tamaro. My aim is to provide you a basic definition of metadata and provide you some highlights on the role of metadata, types of metadata, and also an emerging principle called the principle of metadata enriching and filtering. Um, According to Karen Calhoun, digital libraries can have different components, including collection services, users, and technologies. And metadata can help you to create description about your resources, especially print and electronic resources. And nowadays in digital libraries, uh, electronic books, e-journals, database, and all kinds of information resources. And by providing a description of about your documents, your information resources, and by providing context to your information resources so that users could be able to search, identify, select, use, evaluate, link, and share your information resources. So for example, in the context of digital library for e-learning, for learning resources, you create description about each individual teaching material. And also you provide the context behind this information resource, who created it, how it has been created, um, um, in general, the WH questions. What is it about? Who created it? When is it created? For what purpose? This is metadata. So metadata in brief terms is the keywords, the aboutness of the information objects, the semantics behind your information resources. That's metadata. And then by having this proper description, relevant description, useful description about your information resources, you can then make your resources findable, searchable by your information users or the learners. So there are different types of metadata. Metadata can be descriptive, just providing the descriptive aspect, description about the information object. What is it? What's the title? Who is the author? The keywords, the subject, the summary. But also you can have administrative metadata about the usage of it, the information resource, the source, who created it, where has it come from, what is the institution behind this information source, who sets up, who is the publisher, what kind of rights, licenses are associated to this information object, for example, copyright, and the context, so that users can make sense of this information object. You can also add metadata about the technical details. For example, the file format, what hardware or software, where in the network has this resource been located. All this is metadata. So you can provide as much detail, as much information about your resources. So that's metadata. Metadata, data about data. Additional information about the information object itself. To do this, you can use several metadata standards. Different types of metadata standards exist on the web. You don't have to know the details about each, but I can focus on one of the standards called Dublin Core. Dublin Core is a metadata standard for web-related resources, including your teaching, learning materials in your digital libraries. So Dublin Core provides you the title, creator, subject, description, publisher, who are the contributors, the date of publication of this information object. We're talking about more web-related electronic resources, but also the language, the relationship between this material, this document, with other documents, the coverage, and the rights associated to this information object. So you can use, for example, doubling core. You can go and find about doubling core metadata standard on the web. Metadata is about links. So creating links between information objects, but also information objects and also people. You can also create links between the information objects, the materials, the document with institutions. Who is the funding bodies? What is the data associated to this information object? What data has been used to support this research? You can link all kinds of you can interlink your information object with others so that you give more meaning, semantics to your users. So that's metadata. Metadata is again about the relationship between one information object, one resource with another information source. For example, if it is a book, what other books support this, the ideas contained in this book? What other works are actually opposing this theory, this principle? So you create all these semantic links by using metadata. In order to do this, metadata should not only be created by the teacher or by the librarian or by the expert, but also by users themselves, who are actually going to be the end users, the beneficiaries of your electronic resources. So you can involve them to create more enriching, to more metadata, so that you can enrich the information object. So this is why I said initially there is an emerging concept called metadata enriching. So you can use the web 2.0, more current social media, social aspects of the web, which is called web 2.0, to involve your users as collaborators, as co-creators of metadata, so that they can add meaning, they can remix content, they can add relevance to your information object. So this is the idea of metadata enriching and metadata filtering, and you can interlink in an open environment. So that's about open access, opening your data, opening your links, so that others can access it, and also they can make sense of it, they can link it. You can then enrich your information object by more metadata, more semantics, more links. You can share it. Then you can also present it to users in a variety of ways. So that's called the idea of metadata filtering. One of the ways to involve users is through a process called tagging, or social tagging. So that means you can involve users to tag your information sources, to add reviews, to add ratings, to for example, by aggregating information about the popularity of the resource. They can also link to other. You can also link your information resource, for example, in this case, a book called Everything is Miscellaneous, to other information that is related to this book. So that is about enriching your information object. You can also use metadata to make sense of an object like this. For example, what's this painting? Who painted it? So that's metadata. Where? When? Who are the people involved in this painting? This is all metadata. So without the metadata, you cannot make sense of the information object. For example, I read a book called Everything is Miscellaneous. So I add some keywords about it, some reviews about it. So that's metadata. I call this metadata. Thank you very much for listening. I hope this is helpful.